when you do have just a random wiener on the screen, it is literal shock because it just comes out of nowhere. Do something, you trying out a new look?
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, but I got my hair cut, actually. It's the little bit that you can see is actually a little shorter right here and right here. I got a little tidied up, groomed a little bit, I don't know. What about you? I mean, you look the same as always, so I don't know. You look
Naturally.
fucking ugly, so.
Oh, that's not, well, fuck you, I guess. End of podcast, I guess. Just cut the cameras, roll credits. Thank you for coming to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, I guess. All right, that's it. I don't think there's anything left to. I don't know. I'm wearing this, not for any particular reason. There's nothing important happening.
Da-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Da-na-na-na-na. I am beyond hyped for this. He's jammed out to the game. Okay, you see, it was normal until you went into the falsetto. Then it sounded like absolute dog shit. I just want you to know that.
You're welcome. That was the intention. It's fun because we've never talked about X-Men 97 on this podcast before, because up until yesterday, I had never seen X-Men 97. And now, I've seen half of the original animated series. I wasn't able to get it up because my family's in town and plans changed and they came up earlier than anticipated. So I got through about half the series, and then I watched all of X-Men 97. But that's not what we're starting with. That's just because Carson's got the helmet on. No, we had 3 trailers drop. I'm going to start with the ones that, for movies that we don't care about. So what'd you think about the Angry Birds 3 trailer?
So here's the thing with Angry Birds, right? That first movie is awful. It's full of stupid humor. It's full of really dumb jokes. And the second one is not far off, but it's definitely better than the first somehow. So I watched the third trailer, and my first thought was, okay, so we're really taking a back step, and we're going right back to what the first movie was. Dumb jokes, dumb humor, potty humor, which is always the first sign in a kid's movie that they literally have nothing else to do.
Correct.
Or no clever jokes to tell. I watch Jackass for fun. That's a fun franchise to me. But I don't enjoy the toilet humor, I guess, in the animated kids movie sense.
Yeah, the joke that really lost me in that Angry Birds trailer was the, LeBron beak or whatever, the one where they're listing all the celebrities and giving them the bird spin-off.
Yeah, Timothy Qualamay.
Yeah,
Qualamay, Quailafont, I don't know. And then they just ended it with Ryan Gosling. There wasn't actually an animal or a bird named after.
Ending with just Ryan Gosling got the only chuckle out of the entire trailer from me, just because I was like, okay, that's funny. Everyone likes Ryan Gosling.
It looks about as generic goes, and
I mean, it's literally, what if Red was a dad? The next challenge Red has to face: fatherhood. I wonder how this story's gonna go. It's not like we haven't seen this 50,000 times. Well, this time with more poop jokes.
Look, there's logical, steps to get to that. Even though Shrek the Third is objectively the worst movie in the Shrek franchise and one of the worst anime movies I've ever seen in my entire life, Shrek the Third does naturally transition into telling the story of Shrek becoming a father. That makes sense. They logically get there from that, because the second movie kind of set it up in a logical way. That being said, Angry Birds never did that in any capacity. They just kind of said, here you go, this is what we're giving you. And now we're just like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing.
Well, and it also appears to be single fatherhood. Where's the what? There was no wife or any, unless I missed it.
He does talk about Don't Tell Mom.
Okay.
So Mom does exist in this universe. I have not seen this movie in forever. I have not seen the second one since it came out, and I watched it in theaters, and I pretty much have scrubbed that movie from my head, so I don't really remember what happens in that film. I just remember liking it more than the first one, objectively. But it's not
having fun enough.
Yeah. It's not a
didn't hate my
groundbreaking piece of
time.
media. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's Angry Birds.
It goes back to, I think you brought up a fantastic point, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later with one of the things that we're reviewing, is when the only jokes your movie can tell is poop jokes, or, oh, the baby doesn't have a diaper and is peeing on everyone. You know you've failed. as comedy, as a kids movie, just in general. You have failed. And we get hate on TikTok for everything we ever say. But mainly when we review kids' properties, and not just me, both of us, but mainly me, because
It's mostly you.
I expect intelligent kids movies. I want a kids movie that will make the kid, yes, have fun, but also think a little bit sometimes. And if you're gonna be fun, I think the Mario movie is a fantastic example of a fun kids movie roller coaster. No core message, no anything to take away, just dumb fun, but not poop jokes and all of that, just dumb fun. That is, if you're gonna do a roller coaster fun kids comedy movie, the Mario movie I think is a great example of that.
I don't disagree with you.
Angry Birds does not look like it's going to do that. And like Toy Story, the reason why I was so harsh on Toy Story is because I expect an intelligent, not just an intelligent message, which I agree it has, but an intelligent way of telling that message. That's what the Toy Story franchise is built off of. I didn't feel I got that. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I stand by my opinions. Angry Birds seems like the definition of like, it's the same type of people that would plop you in front of SpongeBob and call it a day.
Granted, I also am like a big fan of SpongeBob. I grew up with that show. So you would think that Angry Birds, even as a kid, would have been like perfect for me. And I remember there's one scene in Angry Birds I would always belly laugh at. And again, I was a kid, mind you. But it was the scene whenever they go and find the mighty eagle. Like, they're bathing in these really holy waters, and then the mighty eagle comes out and he just pisses in the water, and they find out that they've been drinking and swimming in basically piss water. That got a big chuckle out of me, because there's like 20 seconds of him just, Peter Dinklage as the mighty eagle, mind you, which is perfect casting, pissing into this water, and it's just their reaction, big, and just like jaws gaped. It got a belly laugh out of me as a kid. Now I look at that and go, that's the most clever thing you got as a children's film? Okay. Yeah. So, needless to say, I'm not exactly excited for that film. And I'm really hoping that we have something else to talk about instead of that film. So...
Well, we have two other trailers to talk about. We'll transition to the next one that I don't know if we're really going to have all that much more to talk about. Not Alone. Not Alone is the next Timothée Chalamet and Carson. Zendaya is doing another freaking movie.
Zendaya? This is Selena Gomez.
This is Selena Gomez. Sorry, I don't know why I thought Zendaya. Sorry, that's my bad. I'm
it's
tired.
Logical. It's logical to think that Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya are doing something.
Yeah, you've got Not Alone starring Timothée Chalamet and Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez has done a surprising amount of animated kids movies, and she doesn't always do a bad job. Like, she typically is picked... I would call them above an Angry Birds, but not like a Toy Story level movies, which I think is the only thing that gives me any semblance of hope for this movie, is if Selena Gomez is in it, I think I'll at least be able to have fun.
I don't know about that. The thing that doesn't fill me with hope, and I heard somebody else say this about this film, when Chalamet and Gomez started promotions for this film, which was only like a month ago or something, and they like announced that this film was happening, they dropped just the poster, excited to announce my next project, and that was it. They both pretty much said the exact same thing. But when you look at Chalamet or Gomez's like track record of like talking about projects that they're a part of and this or that, they usually have like this long, lengthy thing they'll talk about. They don't just leave it as like, oh yeah, excited to talk about this next project. That's it. So it doesn't exactly fill me with hope that the people who were in it didn't really say anything about their project. The only thing that could count me wrong on that is the fact that maybe they weren't allowed to. Maybe there's something that's keeping them from saying it. But it could be a numerous amount of reasons, but that didn't exactly fill me with hope when somebody put that together and kind of pointed that out on the internet.
Well, and it's definitely an interesting pivot for Chalamet's career, going from his Oscar campaign with Marty Supreme into his next Oscar campaign, I would assume, with Dune 3, which I think we can both agree, if they pull off that movie, he is likely to get at least the nom. Maybe not the win, but at least the nom. And I think going to a animated kids movie, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, his first voice acting role, at least that I know of, in a major movie.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but I can't honestly tell you if that's right. But it doesn't surprise me for Chalamet to finally have a voice acting role if it is his first one, purely because like he does do all different types of things. Like Wonka is probably the most different thing that I've seen Chalamet do
Yeah.
ever, and he was pretty good in that. So I mean, I think in my mind, after Wonka happened, it was only a matter of time before some sort of animated film would pick him up to be a part of it. I will say the trailer shows that they, like, I know they record separately and whatnot, but they sound like they have good chemistry, like they're bringing the characters to life and that they're actually trying. The
Yeah.
trailer just doesn't give you all that much, which is fine. I do like that, but I kind of feel like I'm going to need to see a second trailer to kind of understand what this is even trying to go for, because
Yeah, I was a little lost because the movie very much set up to be like a romance going to space movie, and then right at the end, like the last, call them 20 seconds, you have these three nerds candies come down with faces and arms and start yapping, and I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of exhaled because everything else that they set up, I was like, you know what? I think this could be a good time. I think this could be an interesting, fun romance. I think we're getting way too many space movies, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Elio is one. We have this. We have Project Hail Mary, which was a good one. And I know space movies have been popular for decades at this point, but it just feels like, I don't know, too many. Pick a different genre. I don't know.
I'd agree with that. I think there's too many animated space movies just happening. Like, you got to pick a different topic. I don't know. It looks fine. There's not much to say about this trailer, just because, again, they don't give you like nearly enough to talk about beyond the chemistry and the performances of Gomez and Chalamet, which are okay in my book. They sound okay.
Yeah,
Chalamet seemed off at first because
Chalamet did not sound like Chalamet at all.
It's not that he didn't sound like Chalamet. It's that the character he's playing, once you figure out that it's Timothy Chalamet and you recognize and you do pick up on his voice, I don't feel like it matches the character that he's playing, because I think the character he's playing looks like somebody in like his like mid 40s, and Chalamet's definitely not, or it's at least the outfit he's wearing. I don't know. It's just my thing, but...
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Chalamet's voice does not fit the image of the character. And I do think that in the beginning, he was trying... Again, I'm curious to see how he sounds throughout the entire course of the movie. In the beginning, it sounded like he was trying to make his voice fit the character, and then towards the end of the trailer, I guess, it was a little bit more of a, like, okay, that's just Chalamet. So, at least for me, I'm curious to see what they do with that. I will admit... Again, I was a huge Chalamet defender last year, leading into Marty Supreme, and especially as we gear up for Dune, which I'm highly anticipating. And I know people are going to tell me I told you so, but Chalamet seems to have, I don't want to say changed his tune. Carson, by the time this episode goes up, we will be exactly a month away, nearly, from never recording a remote podcast again in our lives.
This is the most, like, because, like, the things that are also happening now aren't even, like, our fault. It's just technology.
We have no idea. We legitimately don't know what's going on.
Because, like, either it's one thing is your internet, or it's my internet. Or
your camera and headset are the things that are disconnecting, not anything on my end. So,
well, this episode it is, but like sometimes it'll be your internet's just shot for crap and it just doesn't want to work properly for your upload or download speed or whatever, so it slows it down. My internet will do the same thing. My camera and headset just randomly disconnecting all of a sudden. It's just random. It's weird. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I don't know. It happens.
Is my mic at least coming through? Because last time your camera cut out, my mic was crap.
Oh no, your mic is fine. That I will say that was your that was a piece of your technology that just for whatever reason just shot itself. Was your mic?
Correct.
And we never understood why. But
correct.
Yeah, we won't have to deal with that for much longer. Thank God.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's fine. Not Alone's fine.
Not Alone looks interesting enough. We'll watch it. We'll review it. Speaking of animated movies, we did not talk about this on the podcast last week, but the creator of Ratatouille is making a spy thriller animated movie. They released the first promotional images of it the other day. It's a Netflix exclusive movie. You want to know what day they decided to release it, Carson?
What day?
Doomsday.
Great. So that's a film we'll not be talking about, unfortunately.
Correct. I was like, oh, the creator of Ratatouille is making a new animated movie? Sign me up. Oh.
Yeah, so that guy
Oh.
clearly just wants his film not to succeed, or that's part of his plan. He knows his film's going to fail, so he's like, "What? Let's put it on here, and we'll blame it on the fact that it's the same day."
It's got freaking I believe it has Scarlett Johansson in it.
Look, here's the thing: I've seen projects that have come out before that have had A-list casts and have just absolutely bombed. So I don't care who's in it. It's
yeah,
really okay.
it's by Skydance. It's called Ray Gun, and that's
Oh wait, it's Skydance.
yeah, it's Skydance.
Okay, I don't have high hopes for it then.
Oh, I'm not saying I had high hopes. It's just Brad Bird is making it. So
Cool.
you know, well, Brad Bird's made some good movies.
Can't wait to not talk about that because that's coming out on the 4-hour, 5-hour podcast day.
Yeah, no, I genuinely, like, I only bring that up because I forgot to bring it up last week, but when I saw that announcement, I was like, oh, you know, could be interesting, could be good. Let's see, let me throw, I'm the one that makes the schedule for the podcast, so I was like, let me go ahead and throw it on the schedule, because there's probably nothing coming out. Oh, why would you do this?
Oh, no.
Why would you do this? Like, yeah, I know it's straight.
Why would you make this choice? Why would you do this to us?
It's straight to Netflix, and I was talking about this with some people, and I was like, yeah, I get that it's straight to Netflix, so it's not competing for the theatrical seats necessarily, but you have to compete for, like, no one is going to review this movie.
Nobody's going to talk about this movie.
No one's going to talk about this movie because everyone's going to be talking about Doomsday and Dune.
That's it.
That is going to be the talk of the town for literally the entire month of December leading into it, and almost the entire month of January.
Even if Doomsday bombs, which I'm actually, I'll stake claim to this because I would feel very confident saying this. Even if Doomsday bombs and Dune succeeds, I feel like there's still going to be more people talking about Doomsday than Dune. I love Dune. I think it's a great franchise, and I really hope they end it perfectly. But even if Dune succeeds and Doomsday just completely fails, there's still going to be people talking about it because there's already things that are confirmed for this film that are just going to keep people talking to the next Avengers movie. It's literally going to be Infinity War and Endgame all over again.
Well, here's the way to think about it. Even the worst performing Avengers movie, which is Avengers Age of Ultron, made more money than the best of the 2 Dune movies that have come out. So, and I don't anticipate Doomsday performing worse than Age of Ultron. I know that might be a hot take because of where Marvel stands right now and the lack of hype for Doomsday to a certain degree, but I genuinely don't see... Doomsday, even without having the IMAX screens, is going to make more than Dune. It is I'm putting my foot down on that, staking my claim. I'd be willing to make a bet on that. I can't come up with one now, but I think that'd be fun to put a bet on that like I've done in the past. So I'll think about something and I'll put a bet on that because that's how certain I am. Yeah. But I think that releasing a movie in that week is just literally asking for...
You're committing financial, like...
Suicide,
Suicide is basically what it is when you do that. But,
correct.
Hey, to each his own.
Yeah, moving on to another movie that we will be reviewing on the podcast that had a trailer released this week. Carson, I'm definitely interested in your thoughts on this because I've never seen Nosferatu. I still haven't seen Nosferatu. But the Nosferatu creators' next movie, Werwulf, is coming out later this year, and we just got our first roughly 2.5-minute trailer. I'll let you give your thoughts first, because I have stuff to say, but I want to hear kind of what your stance is, being a fan of his work.
So Robert Eggers is just he's a masterclass director when it just comes to the stylistic choices he has for this film, and mostly all of his films, they're all stylistic. But I feel like with each of his films, they do get darker and more grittier, especially leading into what is now Werwulf. And I think with this film specifically, the tone and the world they're setting up for this honestly looks more horrifying than Nosferatu did. Nosferatu, I feel like, is going to be a hard movie to top, even with Eggers directing, just because it was so perfect from just start to finish. I think it's going to be really hard to top. But if you're looking for just like a really good story with good writing and somebody who really knows how to work a camera, this is going to be probably the best movie of the year for that. And it's unfortunate because I actually, of all the films that are going to come out this year, there is a strong chance that Werewolf could walk away being my number one, just purely based on the fact of not just hype alone, but how I know he works as a director. I mean, it's going to be very hard for this film to at least critically bomb. It could be on the lower end of his filmography, sure, but I find it very hard to believe that this film would bomb. The only thing I could see this film not doing is make a ton of money, because his films don't make all that much money, but that's just the way of the world, I guess. Even though he's a really good director.
I think a great example of a fantastic film that made $0 this year and even bombed when it went on streaming services was Bone Temple. Bone Temple is still in my top 10. I believe it's still in your top 10. It's obviously fallen from the number one spot for the both of us, but it's still in my top 10. And I know that movie is not... It did not get the critical love. Well, it got some critical love, but it did not get the widespread love. It did not get the financial love. I mean, that movie I don't even think cracked $100 million. I think it was like $75 million when it left theaters.
Yeah.
Which, for a movie like that, it probably wasn't made for like $1 billion, obviously, but it is still disappointing when a fantastic movie goes unrecognized. And I could easily see this being one of those, even more so with Werewolf, because it is a very specific, stylized style of movie. And I think that's why I could see, I'm going to be honest, I could see this being a movie that I understand how good it is, but just don't like. I think that's my biggest fear with it, is because you know me. I have a hard time with stylish movies sometimes. I didn't like the first 28 Years Later because it was way overly stylized and it kind of just detracted from everything. And I'm not saying I got the same vibe with the Werewolf trailer, but it definitely leaned into a lot of that, like, what's the right word for it without sounding like an asshole? I'll just say it. It had that pretentious style of movie making that I struggle with sometimes, where I'm like, you're kind of up your own ass a little bit with the way that you're making your film. I get that some people love that, and I think the politically correct way of saying it is Oscar bait, and I'm not saying it's going to be a bad movie. I'm just saying, I will admit, this trailer for me kind of confirmed exactly what I expect out of this movie, and I'm more than happy to be impressed, but it does seem more of a movie that I wouldn't gravitate towards personally, and I know that is a movie that you typically would gravitate towards.
Oh, yeah, but this is also, again, just because of the director that's behind it. I've been behind him for a while. I've seen all his work since The Lighthouse, which is, I don't know if it ended up winning awards, but award deserving at least level movie. It's outstanding, and I think Nosferatu is his best work, which really did not get recognized as much as I wanted it to. It did a little bit, but it didn't get as recognized as I wanted it to. That film came out very, very late in 2024, and I mean Christmas Day. Like, I remember wrapping up Christmas with my family and texting a friend, "Hey, we're going to the movies. We're going to watch a really scary movie." Great, sounds good. Went and watched Nosferatu. But no, I'm excited for it. All the acting looks pretty good. Again, I like the stylish choices that he's making. Again, it looks very gritty. It looks very just down in the dirt type movie, which I think is going to fit this film very, very well.
I watched an interview with him. He did it with I don't know if you know Straw Hat Goofy, but he did an interview with Straw Hat Goofy, and he said that it is going to be probably, well, he said it's going to be grittier and more gory than Nosferatu. Like, it's going to be, like, pretty graphic.
Which is very surprising, considering Nosferatu was in itself very, very graphic. It wasn't the most graphic thing I've ever seen, but it was pretty graphic.
Well, and I think I can kind of see how you'd get to that, because, like, imagine a werewolf tearing someone apart, which you obviously don't get, you don't even get what the werewolf is going to look like. There was no, it seemed like he was transforming, but we don't see the final form of the werewolf in this trailer.
Oh, well, and you're not going to see it, period. I know he's not going to show it in any of his trailers because he did the
Oh,
same thing
you
with
mean in the
Nosferatu.
trailers? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going to see it in the trailers at all. Like he did the same thing with Nosferatu. You never once saw, which by the way, if you don't know this, Bill Skarsgård plays Nosferatu.
I do.
You never once see him in the outfit until the movie came out. You never once saw it. You never saw any promo shots, no photos, no nothing. You saw nothing until the film came out. Then you saw what he looked like in the outfit, in the makeup, and he looks horrifying.
Well, then I prefer that. I prefer
So-
that. Like, I'm not complaining that we don't see the werewolf in the trailer at all.
No,
I
I
don't
know.
need to see it.
No,
But
I know.
I think it's going to be interesting because they're very obviously hiding. If they're hiding the werewolf, they're going to have to hide the gore and all of that. Like, we're not going to
Correct.
get like a red band trailer where the werewolf is like tearing a dude to shreds.
No, we're not going to get
But I could
that.
imagine we're going to get quite a few scenes of that nature in this movie.
Correct. Yeah, we will.
So,
We will.
yeah. I don't know. I'm excited. I will be curious to see where I land on it. It's again, it seems like a movie that is going to be an interesting conversation because I could easily see me coming in here, sitting down and being like, I understand why people would like this. It's just not for me. And you going, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
Well, again, it's also like it's just how you kind of have grown up, like watching films. Like again, this podcast has allowed you to watch more films, but you're still technically still so not one-sided, but you're still so new to the concepts and the ideas that like other films do have, and you're getting better about it. But like a big test for next week is going to be Evil Dead Burn, which I don't know if that's going to be a good movie or not. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be absolutely hot garbage, but I know Evil Dead Rise was incredible, and I think the Evil Dead franchise as a whole is some of the best horror that I've ever seen in my entire life. I think it's genius. Sam Raimi did a great job bringing that world to life. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Werewolf.
Yeah, we will see. But we have to see what we're talking about this week because what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host for today's episode, Brandon, aka Parrotfish, here with my forever co-host
Carson, aka Juggernaut.
And today we have three wonderful properties to talk about. We have, starting out with, I believe we talked about this, Minions. Minions
Yep.
3 we'll be starting out with. And then we will kick it into our House of the Dragon Season 3 Episode 2. And we will be, Season 3 Episode 2 review. And then we will kick it into our first 3 episodes of X-Men 97 review to end it off. Big spoiler warning for everything. There will be timestamps down in the description. If you have not seen these properties, do not watch our reviews. We get straight into spoilers once we get to those sections. So, this is your one and only warning. Please be mindful of that. Carson, how you doing?
Tired, exhausted. It's been a long week. We're recording this earlier because it's a big 4th of July weekend, so we're giving ourselves a bit of a break and trying to get ahead so we can enjoy our big 4th of July celebration. But it was a bit of a rush to kind of get this together, considering 2 of the properties we're talking about literally dropped today.
Correct.
So it's, you know,
Yeah,
I don't have like all the thoughts like assimilated that I probably want, but I got enough to where I can get through for this review. So we'll see what happens.
Minions released on Wednesday, which is when we're recording this. We literally both just got back from seeing Minions. And it's funny because my family's in town, which is one of the reasons we're recording this so early so we can both enjoy our 4th of July weekends. This will still go up on Sunday. But if this was any other weekend with any other movie, like imagine for whatever reason, like Odyssey released, like it would have been so bad. So I just have to be glad, I guess, that Minions is the thing we're talking about. In terms of movies, obviously we still have House of the Dragon, and then we both had to watch 3 episodes of I say had to, as if we didn't both, I would assume, thoroughly enjoy, maybe spoilers for our thoughts, 3 episodes of X-Men 97. But yeah, I am exhausted. My family got in at 12:30 in the morning, and I had to work all day today, and then see this movie and watch. Yeah, it's been a week, and it's literally only Wednesday. We're recording this. Is this the earliest we've ever recorded an episode? I think
No.
Wednesdays is. When's the earliest we've ever?
We've recorded on a Tuesday before, but it was like
The
because you were leaving out of
Wicked.
town. We recorded
It was
Wicked
the
on a
Wicked
Tuesday.
one, right?
Yeah,
we had
we
to do
recorded
an
that on-
early screen. I
We did an
remember
early
now.
screening of it, and we just happened to get it done like pretty early. Yeah.
I think we literally finished that recording at like 2:00 in the morning. I remember that. I was leaving. Yes.
That was
God,
the last time. That was the last time we ever wanted to do that because it was absolutely horrible.
Correct.
It was bad.
Correct. Yeah, no. But we're going to go ahead and just get into these reviews, starting with Minions 3, kicking into House of the Dragon, and ending with the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97. Carson, go ahead and give us your thoughts on Minions 3. Minions and monsters, to be specific.
I'm such a hypocritical piece of shit. This film is so dumb. It's objectively a logically plot hole filled movie. But what a fun time. I'm sorry. I hate the Minions movies. I hate them with a passion. I hated 1. I hated 2. They're not good movies. I despise the Minion comedy, so why all of a sudden have I sat here and just gone, why is this actually fun? Why am I sitting here enjoying the Minions? Why is there anything at all? Like, okay, look, let me say this first. First off, this isn't like an emotionally gratifying movie. This isn't a groundbreaking animated movie. There's nothing here that's remotely like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., the classics of the classics, Pixar, level good. Nothing remotely like that. The animation's pretty good, but it's an Illumination animation, so how good can it really be in my mind? But this is just a fun time. It's probably about on par with me to like a Mario Galaxy, where it's like you sit down, you know what you're getting into, you may not be in for the best story, but it's just a fantastic fun time with honestly some humor that I actually along the way I was like, that's kind of funny. It's a little okay. It does have the typical Minion tropes that I just hate. Minions aren't my characters. I think that the Minions and Despicable Me as a world still has overstayed its welcome, even with this film being what it is. But this is certainly a far from bad film in my mind. I do actually think I prefer this film to Mario Galaxy. That being said, like, there are obvious, like, just plot things that I'm like, that's so dumb. Why would that be a factor? Why is it? So, like, in the very beginning, they set up the fact that film during this time runs out of reel, and they need to, like, put reel in, and you only have so much to, like, shoot with. So how is it possible that Ed shot the entire battle at the very end with just this little tiny camera? Like, it's like logical plot things like that I'm like, okay, that's like dumb. Like, and when you think about it, it's really stupid. But it's a Minions film. You can't really like dive into that too much because it's just what you're getting into. This is by far the best of the 3. I don't know necessarily I'd watch it again. Maybe if there's like a certain circumstance I would. But again, this is not a bad film. But this is, I'm going to say it, this is the most surprising film of the year for me. Because I expected to fully just hate my time watching this. And I walked out with a smile on my face going, why did I enjoy the motherfucking Minions? Why did I enjoy anything about this film? So, that's what I'll say about
it. When you put your hands on your face, I thought that was going in a completely different direction. That's why I laughed so hard when you started saying what you were saying, because I was so ready for the 20-minute rant from Carson about how he wants to kill himself because he just watched the most suicide-inducing horrible time of a movie.
That's the polarizing thing about this film. I both wanted to kill myself because I was watching a Minions movie, but then actively wanting to hold on to the ledge because I was watching a good Minions movie. It's weird. It's just so weird.
Yeah. So time for me to give my thoughts. Minions 3 is full of poop jokes, dick jokes, butt plug jokes. It's full of some of the most dumb, roll your eyes, wish you weren't watching it humor you've ever seen on a screen. And yet there's something you just can't help but just laugh and love about this movie. First of all, it looks unreasonably good. Why did they put so much money into animating this Minions movie? It might be one of the best looking movies of the year from an animation perspective, and it's a freaking Minions movie. Why? I will admit, I didn't belly laugh at anything in this movie, but I was smiling for most of the time. I think that my least favorite part of this movie is I wish most of it was in just Minionese. I didn't like the narrator in the beginning. I think that that was kind of a detraction from the fun of the Minions, was having like an English narrator over what's going on, because I'd rather just put the pieces together myself and have fun with it. I think that was a detraction. And yeah, this movie makes no sense. There's no logic in this movie, but I wasn't expecting logic in this movie. I literally sat down. I saw this in Dolby Atmos, so I sat down, put my comfy recliner chair in relax mode, and took a key and turned my brain off. That's exactly what I did for this movie, and that's exactly how you have fun with this movie. Not that you necessarily wouldn't have fun if you turned your brain on, but yeah, this is a movie that you will sit down, you will laugh at, you will watch. I will admit, there was some emotion in this movie. There was a little bit. Like, watching the Minions, specifically James and Henry, get taken away from Max as they're leaving, like, big Hollywood or whatever. I didn't cry. But I was like, damn, I kind of care. I care just enough to justify sitting through the rest of this movie. And that's how I felt for most of, like, any of the, like, emotional beats that this movie had. Is like, I care just enough about this emotional beat to keep my butt in this seat. And that's about as much as I could expect out of a Minions movie. Overall, if you have kids, go take them to this movie. It's fun. There are some jokes that, like, for a kids movie, the butt plug one specifically, that I'm sitting there going, God, why did they, like, that's, I don't want anyone watching. I don't want to be watching this joke. It's stupid. But, like, if you're okay with that type of humor, I think your kids will enjoy this. I think you, as a parent, will probably find something to enjoy in this movie. That's the end of my thoughts.
I want to start off by saying this because I just looked this up because I was curious on where it, like, kind of ranked. Critically on Rotten Tomatoes, this is the highest in the Despicable Me franchise.
Yep, I saw that.
I don't understand that. I'm assuming
I
it's
would
going to get
definitely
lower.
put Despicable Me 1 over this easily.
I would put Despicable Me 2 over it as well. I like Despicable Me 2. I actually like the first two a lot. I don't really actually have a problem with those.
I think the first two are good. I think the third one is stupid, and I haven't seen the fourth one because I heard it's atrocious.
The third and fourth one are both pretty bad. Like, I don't think there's really anything redeeming about any of them. I think they're all pretty bad. But Despicable Me's 1 and 2 are actually pretty good. Again, I said I was surprised by this, so I expected this to be higher up on the totem pole, like at least a 60. It's at like an 89 and was just at a 90. Like, I refreshed the page and it went down to an 89. How is it, like, that high? Like, I don't understand that. Maybe there's something I'm not getting. Like,
well, so you do understand how Rotten Tomatoes works, right? Like, it's not like people are all rating it at an 80%. It's that 80% of the people reviewing this movie would recommend it.
Yeah.
That's how Rotten Tomatoes works. So, and I'd recommend this movie. I'd say go watch this movie.
Yeah.
If
nothing else,
there's no other movies coming out this weekend, so
yeah, I'd say honestly, yeah, go watch this on the 4th of July weekend. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. I just saw that and I just went, that's really strange. I'm also looking for things to talk about this film because there's not much to talk about with this film.
True.
So, the plot's fine, I guess.
I will say his name's Dirk, right? Dirk.
Dirk. Dort. I think it's Dort.
Dort. I think it's maybe Dort. He was fun. I liked the fact that he was actually an alien. That was one that I was like...
That was the most wild part of the experience that even I sat there. Wait, what? He's actually an alien? What are we... Because, like, it's clearly set up that he's just a nerd in a costume. That's what they're trying to set up here.
Obviously, yeah.
Which also makes me look back on it like, oh god, he was actually planning for an invasion. Like, he was gonna invade this planet, which is really horrifying when you think about it in context. I think the one thing that confuses me about this film is, did the events of this film actually happen?
Nope. That was the twist at the end of this movie.
None of it actually happened.
This movie, you're watching the making of this movie. That's what
Gotcha.
this is you are even down to the museum tour. You are watching, like, I guess technically maybe it actually did happen, and this is like a documentary of the events that actually happened. Maybe that's what they're going for.
I
But
guess I
like
don't
that was,
know.
I guess, the twist at the end was that, oh, turns out this is actually not real and we're filming something and what have
Yeah.
you. I think that
Yeah.
that was the twist. Um God, there was something else I was gonna say. It was like the one other thing I had to say about this movie. I'll remember it if I think. I'll say something if I think of it.
Oh, the voice actors giving like 110% in an
Yeah,
illuminate. Like, what an all-star cast, by the way. Jeff Bridges, Christoph Waltz, freaking Trey Parker of South Park fame is also like I don't know if it was Matt Stone or Trey Parker, but he was in the third Despicable Me movie as the villain, and now he's back again as another villain, which is really funny because halfway through this movie, I started realizing that he's just doing the Cartman voice for the stupid Goomy character. I'm like, this is just
yeah,
Eric Cartman, but like in a kids movie. Um, just giving like all of them giving like 110 like percent performances. I'm like, that's great. They clearly were having fun making this, which shows in the film at the very least.
yeah. I will say the two jokes that I laughed at the most in this movie was when the minions joined the women's rights protest. That got a good chuckle out of me, because in the first scene you had the women's rights protest, like one of the first, like, in real, like, not montagey scenes. You have the women's rights protest and it's just like happening off in the background, and then the alien falls in love with like the leader of the women's rights movement, and then the minions just join the protest to serve their master, and I'm like, what are we doing here? This is so funny.
It's
Like, it's so dumb.
it also like okay, so like it. One of the things that I was kind of confused with this film while watching it until they said that it was like a film that the Minions were making. Biggest thing that confused me was, where was this at in the timeline? Because it was clearly set up in like, I guess, the lore of the Minions or something. I can't believe that's a sentence that came out of my mouth. The lore of the Minions. They were looking for a boss. They went through a bunch of bosses. They never really affected history until they found Gru in the second movie. The I think what's Scarlet Overkill or whatever in the first movie. Like, that was like
Yeah.
the first big thing that they did. So I was a little confused on like, where did this come from? Are they just like placing this there for the sake of playing? And now it's like, okay,
You just can't question that, I think, is the big thing. Like, I really think
yeah.
that it's just not something you can question. Just watch the movie, and that's kind of where you have to be with it. Two of the other things that I found quite funny, and I will admit, I am kind of upset that they spoiled this in, I think it was like the first main trailer, but the montage of them killing all of their masters, I love the fact that it was a different minion every time. Like, I thought they were just gonna be like,
wasn't the same one.
yep. Yep, because I was afraid that they were going to be like, oh, it's James every time, or it's Henry every time, because they set it up. They're like, James is the most hated, so we're just going to have James be the one that's, like, killing all these people. But no, you have,
Right.
like, the king that gets beheaded by a different minion that falls asleep, which was, like, kind of insanely graphic, by the way. He's just fully decapitated, and you see his spine, and I'm like, what the what?
They just sit there and go, oh, Dave.
It's like, what?
Well, honestly, that kind of makes sense for the film, because truth be told, if it was the same minion every time, logic would decree that you just exile that minion, because
Yeah.
he's horrible at, like, he's killing
Being
all of
a
your
minion.
masters. But if it's like all of the, like, each individual one at a different point in time, it's like, okay, well, we can't excommunicate. Oh, we're just all really bad at this. It's like a big group effort. Because obviously you have a montage in the first movie that they also are just killing masters. So they go through like Napoleon, Dracula. I'm trying to think if there's like another one that they I don't remember like another big one that they hit. But this one is just really funny because like they literally go through like it's like a minute long, but it's like a different person just getting killed. The decapitation one was wild. I never thought I'd say why. Wow, just like not cutting away from it either. It's full on decapitation. That guy's head is gone. You see his spine.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. It looks
thank
like you
you,
cut
Minions.
a ham in half. Like you. Yep.
Thank you, Minions and Monsters, for giving me beheading in your Despicable Me universe.
Correct. I think another joke, and I will say this. I don't want to say this is the only intelligent joke in the movie, but it is the smartest joke of the movie, and I genuinely found it very funny. When the Minions are meeting Dolt for the first time, Dick has been the guy that's been leading everyone. He's the leader of the Minions, and he's going around, and he introduces himself, and he goes, shakes his hand, Dick. And he goes, nice to meet you, Richard.
Hello,
and he
Richard.
looks at him. Yeah, hello, Richard. And he goes, no, Dick. And he looks at him, and he pauses,
Okay.
and he goes, okay. And I was just like, no human child is going to understand that joke, but it is actually funny. Like, you have to admit, like, it is actually funny.
there's a English comedy group that have created some really funny plays with the whole context of the shows that are literally about them going wrong. So they've done like Peter Pan. There's a literal show called The Play That Goes Wrong. I think I've told you about this before.
Yeah, I've actually seen clips of theirs before. Yeah,
they've done they did a TV show in 2019. I think it went through to 2020. I don't know if they're planning to continue it or not. But there's a medieval episode that they do, and this one guy's mad at this other guy in the show, and he's not allowed to speak or have a line. But the guy he's angry with comes in, he's like, all right, everybody, please welcome Prince Richard. And the guy he's angry with him goes, just under his breath goes, Dick. It's the most just when you do a dick joke like that, it's really funny. Because it's really clever.
Yeah.
So thank you, Minions, for having a clever joke for once. Again, it's full of dumb humor, this film, but like they do have moments where it's like, okay, this is actually kind of funny.
Yeah, no, there's
Lot,
definitely.
but, I was about to say there's not a lot of it, but it's kind of there every now and again.
Yeah, like I think the two funniest ones for me was the women's rights protest one and the dick joke. Just because it's like the butt plug one, I was more baffled than laughing at. I was like, what did you just, and that's right before the beheading as well. That leads into the beheading montage, and I'm like, what are we doing?
It's Minions. You just kind of gotta let them go with it.
I want to see a Minions horror movie. I want to watch a Minions horror movie.
I bet you if you look it up on YouTube, you can find it. I'm sure it's there. I'm sure there's a thing.
You know, like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or like your Bambi horror, like all those. I want a Minions horror movie. But I also here's the thing, and I'm very particular about this. Blood and Honey and all that. Those movies are like people in cheap costumes. No, I want an animated hard R Minions horror movie.
And honestly, you could get it.
Minions.
You could get it. I see that happening.
I don't. Because if you do that, parents will try to take their kids to that movie and be very, very upset when they see someone's head get chopped off and it isn't just a ham cut in half.
Yeah. Anyway, Minions and Monsters. I guess go watch it. I can't believe that's something that I'm actually saying in the year of our Lord 2026. That it's the most surprising film of the entire year somehow.
Hey, it is one of the most inclusive movies of the year. Minions and Monsters is one of the most inclusive movies of the year. You have a women's rights protest, falling in love with an alien, talking about women's rights, talking about interspecies relationships. You also have a deaf minion in this movie, which I will give credit for. Was kind of funny.
That was also clever, because I've never seen that, so that was something different I did actually enjoy.
And it wasn't like a main focus either. They just like treated it as a normal thing, that's my big thing about inclusion. Treat it like it's normal. I get that it's not. I get that most people aren't deaf, but if we want to include everyone and we want to treat everyone like you or me, then just do it. Just treat it like Ed's there. Ed is hard of hearing. He communicates with sign language, and That's just him. That's just the thing. There's not like this. There's one line about it. There's a single line about it that explains that he's hard of hearing, and then never brought up again. It is just Ed being deaf and communicating with sign language, which, like, you can say whatever you want about it. I thought it was really neat. I thought that was really sweet because it is a good version of representation where it's just, yeah, there's just a deaf guy. That just happens. We communicate with sign language. Nothing else is wrong about him. He saves the day. He's the one that films everything. Like, he's ultimately the hero of this movie, but he's the unsung hero.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's the last thing I have to say. I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was pretty cool.
Minions and Monsters.
Interesting surprise of the year. I wouldn't call it the biggest surprise of the year.
It is for me because I was hating on this film from its conception. So, I mean, if we're being honest, it 100% was for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I honestly, looking back, like, I guess movies that because, like, The Furious is probably my biggest surprise of the year, but I also I'd barely heard of The Furious until we reviewed it, and everything I had heard, everyone was, like, saying it was amazing. Minions and Monsters, I had, like, literally, we were watching this on Wednesday. Reviews, I don't know. We're not going to obviously post this till Sunday anyway, so it's not like we're going to be the first, but whatever.
No.
But yeah, no, Minions and Monsters, if you're interested, go watch it. Time to pivot to the fundamental opposite.
Opposite difference in all accounts.
The biggest polar opposite in the world that you could think of. But instead of making dick jokes, it shows dicks. They have that in common.
Yeah.
Carson, go ahead and give us your review on Season 3, Episode 2 of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, started off last week with a pretty good bang and a pretty good reintroduction to this world. Started off with what I believe to be just a fantastic start to the season. Episode 2, it takes a giant leap in this plot, and literally, like, doesn't stop. We're at the point where she is on the Iron Throne now, which I would have thought would have been at least a couple more episodes out, but we're, like, here. They do so much within this episode. They wrap up storylines in this episode, and they give you, like, a good insight and conflict for what Season 3 is pretty much going to be about. While at the same time, just, like, giving you some really great moments. This is by far Emma D'Arcy's just best performance that I've seen from her in this role. When she is confronting the death of Jacaerys, it is soul-crushing, and she is giving it her all. I swear to God, this scene alone, if she does not get an Emmy performance by the end of this year, or at least a nomination, I'm going to rage on the podcast. I will flip tables. I will break light switches in your apartment that you will have to pay for to fix. Like, I will genuinely rage because she is phenomenal here. I love the entire sequence of them going through King's Landing, literally taking the throne, all of it, and then thank you, Risa Fons, for being here. Thank you for being here for one scene and then being out of the entire rest of the show. Thanks for showing up, man. It was great to see you. Look, there's the writing, the cinematography, the story. They just did so much right in this episode. They made a completely logical step forward and did so much in one episode. My one fear is that this is exactly what happened with Season 2 as well. They started off with a bang, and they slowed down at the latter half of their season, which caused a lot of commotion with people because they didn't feel like a lot happened. So if they go that route, and if they don't, at least at the very end, have another high, kind of like matching the tone of the start of the season, I could see this going in the direction of Season 2, where it's not as loved as that first season, where it's kind of consistently good throughout.
Fair enough. Well,
notice how I didn't talk about the penises yet.
I thought that would be your favorite part of the episode, Carson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't know what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah, 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 yeah.
House of the Dragon season 3 episode 2 is without question the best episode of the entire series. Not even remotely a question to me. It is also easily in competition for the best episode of television we've watched all year. And that is hefty conversation. That is putting it up against the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97, against all of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, against all of Invincible. Like, this is easily in contest for being one of the best episodes of television we've watched all year. It is genuinely an incredible episode of television. And coming from me, not really liking season 1 all that much, and starting to get a little bit more into the groove of it with season 2, this episode brought so much emotion, literally the entire end of the spectrum. Happiness, sadness, hype, depression, like every single emotion that you can feel, I felt with this episode of television. The acting is genuinely incredible. It is, as you said, like if these characters, if these actors don't get nominated for Emmys at the end of the year, like I will be flipping tables and breaking light switches. Like, it is genuinely incredible work. I mean, Rhaenyra going up and holding her dying son or dead son, and it just, you sit on it. You really sit on it. And, like, that is some of the ugliest crying I've seen in a while, but, like, it is genuine. Like, it really felt like she lost her son there, and it really got a rise out of me. Like, it really brought some emotions out of me. And then cut to the exact opposite of the spectrum when we have the ending of this, when Rhaenyra finally sits on the Iron Throne for the first time in the entire show. And not only that, the moments that lead up to and then follow her sitting on the Iron Throne, her landing on King's Landing with Daemon, and Daemon just blasting through the castle with the remains of the people that remain loyal to Aegon and his family. It is just so expertly shot. The music is so subtle but so powerful at the same time. Again, the acting is incredible in those moments. And then you lead into Rhaenyra knows what she needs to do when Otto is brought before her. Like, I didn't expect to see Otto again this early. And then we find out who's in that prison cell that Daemon found. We bring Otto up, and Rhaenyra having to make the decision of not only executing her father's hand, not only executing her friend growing up, but her best friend growing up's dad, in order to be able to confidently sit on the Iron Throne. Missing at first because she's never done this before and she doesn't want to do it. And then he starts to insult her, in one foul swoop takes off his head. I'm gonna be honest, I was hype as hell because I hate Otto. I think he's a terrible person. But at the same time, like, this is a character that you start out liking. And just like with a lot of characters in this show, the descent into madness and his descent finally coming to an end, only for you to think it be over. Rhaenyra sits on the Iron Throne for the first time in her entire life. And then Alicent walks up on the dead body of her father. And you know what has to happen. Because the reason they killed Otto is because their assumption is that everyone fled King's Landing. And by killing him, who is the representation of the crown, that makes her the ruler. Because we've abdicated the throne. He is the representation of the power. That is gone now. Oh no, it's not. Not only is the queen standing right there, a child, the Queen Dowager, her best friend growing up, is also standing right there. And you can see the incredible acting on her face, realizing in that moment what needs to be done. This episode was incredible. It was genuinely an incredible episode of television.
So how about those penises?
Yeah, how about those penises?
Do we start there?
I mean, obviously, there's not much to talk about with those.
No.
It was definitely a shock, but not, like, new.
No, it's still not as shocking as some of the shots in season 2. Some of those were probably more graphic. But it just that's the thing with Game of Thrones, is that when you do have, like, and South Park makes fun of this all the time. when you do have just a random wiener on the screen, it is literal shock because it just comes out of nowhere. And you're just like, oh my God, what, why? Why? I feel like that's kind of the thing with all the nudity in Game of Thrones. It just comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. Okay, so
why is there a boob in my face? Why is there a dick in my face? Why is there a literal poop leaving his ass?
Yeah, can we talk about that? Why? Why are we doing this again? We just had this. Whatever. Nitty gritty things that you have to complain about when you watch a Game of Thrones show, I guess.
I will say, starting at here, I was wrong. I'll get that right out of the way. The sea serpent lives.
I wasn't going to tell you that.
I knew that you knew. That's why I knew you had to be very careful about that conversation. But I wasn't shocked when the sea serpent was shown to live because they very specifically didn't show him, like, die like they did with Jace or any other character where you can go, no, they did. He was just thrown overboard, so him being alive, I have no problem with that. It was just like I expected him to be dead to a degree just because of how devastating the battle was, but I'm very happy that he's still alive in a very bad state, let's be honest. He has his 2 sons, but Jace is dead, his grandson, and then you also have his entire fortune, for the most part, has been burnt. Most of his ships have been sank, and it's just a very, very not great situation all around.
But that's what makes his presence in this episode so good, because he's only in like 2 scenes in this entire episode, and it's not even very long scenes, mind you.
Well, and it's basically the same thing. You just see him on the beach, cut away, and then you cut back to the same continuing scene on the beach, pretty much.
Well, the thing that makes this appearance so important and his inclusion in these episodes, or in this episode specifically so important, is that you, at the very end, him literally tell Alan, and I think Adam's there too, I don't remember if he's on the dragon still, if he's finally there. It's like, I have nothing left to give you other than my name, and then Alan just finally accepts, it's like, dude, that's the greatest honor you could give me at this point.
God, such a banger line, dude. Such a banger line.
It's just like, finally, after all this time of him trying to reconnect with these lost sons of his, because now he lost his wife, he lost his other children, and like he wanted to reconnect with the last living family that he literally has left, and getting that approval finally is just so good. And it was such a satisfying moment for that character. Thank God justice for Corlys finally happened. I no complaints for what they did with his character, and he was in this episode so little. That just shows how good this episode is.
Oh yeah,
is the character who's in it the least has a satisfying moment in this.
Well, talking about banger lines, moving off of the all I have to give you is my name, and that is the greatest. Like, that was such a banger line. The best line, I would put this up in. I think this is definitively the best line of the year. I think this line is genuinely such an absolute depressing but banger of a line. And it comes from Anira when she's in bed talking to Daemon. And she goes, "The little children that used to hide their faces in my skirt now lie dead. All for what? For me to sit on a stupid throne made of fucking swords?" That line, I know I butchered it a little bit, but that line was so unbelievably incredible because it's literally the plot synopsis of House of the Dragon. It is. And it represents so perfectly how terrible this war is, and everything going on is just, it's pointless. We're losing everyone. We're losing sons. We're losing daughters. We're losing husbands. We're losing wives. We're losing everyone. All for what? Yeah. To decide who gets to sit on a chair made of swords?
I mean, that's apparently that's the plot of Game of Thrones. I'm going to invoke what I said last week. All of this happens. The dragon warfare, the House of the Dragon, the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and Game of Thrones all happens so Brandon Stark can sit on the Iron Throne. What great A class writing that is. Thank you, George R.R. Martin, so much for giving us that. But
I've
no,
seen so many memes talking about that, specifically like in reference to Jace's death, where they point and it's like, this little boy died so that this guy can sit on this throne.
Can sit on the Iron Throne. It's so funny. I saw a meme that you had sent me about, and you can clip this if you really want, but the one of Rhaenys falling off the dragon. That one was really funny because I even sat there and went, oh my god, why don't they? Just wear parachutes on the dragon, so if your dragon goes down, you can get off of it, and you're perfectly fine. Hey, look, in Jace's excuse, he would have ended up dead anyway.
Correct.
Because he did survive the dragon falling, he just got shot with a bunch of arrows.
Correct.
But like in Rhaenys' thing, if you just had a parachute, you would have been completely fine.
Well, it's the whole dumb argument of like, we want to die in battle with honor, and it's like, or you could live, or let's think about this, you could just not die.
I saw another thing, another meme that came across, but it actually is kind of true, which is the fact that somebody said that their favorite thing was that Alicent probably hates her kids more than the audience does. It's like, my god, that's actually kind of true. Yeah. Because that's Alicent's whole arc, I guess, the season is, yeah, my kids are just horrible. Every single one of them are bad, except Helena. Helena's the only pure good, like, child.
I saw, talking about memes, I saw another meme that just zoomed in on her face when they walked up on Rhaenyra and saw Otto's body on the ground. That just when the face you make when you realize you're not getting to raise your chickens. And I was like, that's...
Dude, this episode brought some fire memes. Let's touch on that. Yeah. Just quickly, just because it's obviously, again, we already touched on how it's like probably the most prominent, powerful scene was Otto's death.
Yeah.
Rhys Ifans was barely in season 2. I was expecting him to be a little bit more in season 3. And he was in one scene.
And we will never see him again in the show.
We're never seeing him again. I want to know how much money Rhys Ifans was paid for that one scene.
I will say, he turned up to work. His face in that scene, incredible.
Rhys Ifans was one of the like highlights of when they announced this cast. I was like, oh, thank God they cast him in something so like despicable, because he's gonna pull that off so well. No, he was really good in this episode for the short time that he's in it. But it's such a depressing thing because I want more. I like Otto's character. I want to see more of Otto's character because he's so compelling in that role, and I love Rhys Ifans on that role. So the fact that he's just gone now is like, oh wow, that kind of.
Well,
stings.
It's like, again, talk about detestable characters that you started out loving. Same like with what we talked about last week with Cole. Granted, we got like one clip of Cole as we like cut to him for like 20 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, Cole's not even in this episode for the most part.
I think he's in literally that the maybe 5 seconds when
it's like the 5. He's like barely in this episode. Yeah,
when the dragon's flying over to go burn, which that was another great scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Also, when did he get stabbed? Did I miss that? Because he like died. I know he's not like dead, but like. Is that the witch making him think he got stabbed, or did he actually?
You're talking about Aemond?
Yeah,
Aemond got stabbed by before. By the way, there's so many people died within the first 2 episodes. By the way, I just want to point that out.
Not only but so much just generally happens. It's just such dense episodes.
I forget his name. The old man who kind of helped Daemon in season 2. Aemon comes in. He's trying to basically be like, hey, we're not going to fight you on this. Just take it. It's yours, whatever. And stabs him, whatever. Aemon kills the one son, and while he's killing the one son, the other son comes up behind him and stabs him in between his eyes. You hear the stab. You hear the stab go through. But then he kills the son. It's not until after, like, the knife's out, the son's dead, that he realizes, oh, shoot, I'm bleeding. Mm-hmm. Which is great. Aemon's going to get the Daemon treatment now. Have fun living season 3 at Harrenhal.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's no way they're going to kill him like that. However, I will say if he did die like that, I think that would be like actually kind of genius. If they did,
I can tell you, or you can find out. I'll leave it up to you.
I'm assuming he doesn't. I don't want to know the answer, but I'm assuming he doesn't because I feel like, well, I do think that is a genius way for him to go out. I also have a feeling that we wouldn't have another season and 8 episodes left of a show if he just died here. So
Sure.
yeah,
I will say between now and season 4, there's going to you're going to be shocked with how fast paced things are probably going to be moving here because there's a lot of story left to tell, but there's so much that happens between now and what the end of the show is going to be that you're not even going to fully comprehend what's happening.
A lot of
if you thought this episode was crazy, it's only going to get crazier at this point.
Yeah, no, I assumed because a lot of the memes that I've seen have been in reference to like book readers realizing what is yet to come, and it's just like someone like curled up under their bed in a blanket or something like that.
There's one moment in the book that I know that's coming, and not only am I going to cry over, but it's something that like I am excited to see because I really want to see them adapt it into this show. It's probably my most anticipated thing that they're going to adapt in this entire show, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Otto just piecing out is great. Great scene. Yeah, no, Emma D'Arcy in this episode, just give her an Emmy or give her a nomination. She's earned it with this episode alone. I mean, there's other episodes that she's been nominated for. I think she was nominated during season 1. I can't remember if she was nominated for season 2. I know for a fact she was nominated for season 1. She deserves at least a nomination just from this episode alone. She's absolutely outstanding.
Just that scene of her holding her son alone deserved an Emmy. And then you had every other scene. Like, she has 2 of the best scenes in the series, easily. Her holding her, well, 3 actually. Her holding her son, her line to Daemon in bed, and then her finally sitting on the Iron Throne. Like, if just those 3 scenes, nothing else in the show, I'd say give her an Emmy. Like,
yeah. Well, and honestly, I love what they do with Daemon's character in this episode because they, on the surface, they don't. It doesn't seem like they do much. They set up a lot more with this character than you really like.
No, they do. Like, I actually noticed because his whole thing in season 2 was whether or not he would betray Rhaenyra. It was, am I going to raise this army for myself or am I going to raise this army for my wife? Like, am I actually going to fight for the rightful ruler of the 7 Kingdoms or am I going to take this for myself? Because here's the thing. If he had that army, he probably could take the 7 Kingdoms. Like, yeah, he doesn't have all the dragons, but, like, he's a expert tactician. Like, and in this episode, he has the Night Guard as well. That's actually how they're able to take over the Red Keep is because he has the Night Guard with him. So he could, I wouldn't say easily, but, like, it wouldn't be a stretch if he got the army of, 20,000 men that were able to charge that he could take over himself.
Yeah. And not even that, but like this episode proved that if Daemon wanted to, if he really fought for himself, we saw in season 2, episode 1, that he's willing to go as far as to just have somebody sneak in to kill the family members. Obviously, that was meant for Aemon, not for Aegon's son. But if Daemon, and we saw in this episode that Daemon can cut through the Kingsguard or people around, like, no problem. It would not have been a stretch. If Daemon really wanted to, have your army posted not very far away, sneak into King's Landing yourself, and just take them all out one by one, because there's a logical decree that could easily say, yeah, he could easily do this.
And that was kind of the point that I was getting to, is, like, you go from him raising this army by himself to either fight for his queen or fight for himself, and then you cut to this episode where he is sitting there in bed with his grieving wife saying, like, hey, I understand you're grieving, like, this is not easy, however, gotta tie your shoes, buckle up, and ride on the castle, because he knows that this is their only moment. When the news breaks that Alicent has actually left and Aemond has actually left, he knows we need to do this. And he goes back to the story of the Song of Ice and Fire. And then, God, like, them tearing through, like, him alone tearing through, and then, like, them holding hands, like, God, like, just, again, everything in this episode is just so magnificently done. Every little detail is just...
Is now a good time to remind you that that's his niece?
Don't
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin the moment.
Don't.
Okay.
Just don't. Because
I
anytime I think about it, it ruins the entire show for me. Let's be honest. I've had to because it's not as prevalent in these two seasons in this season especially. Granted, we're only 2 episodes in, as it was in especially the first season. I'm able to pretend that it's not real.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Aegon. Let's talk about Aegon in this episode.
Yeah.
That was a big thing because they get pounced on by bandits. And you think, well, they're cooked. And then Aegon just breaks off the arrow that is shot into him, mind you.
Yes.
And just takes the dude out, and he is leaving his Master of Whispers. As he rightfully should.
Laris hasn't done anything for you, and really, he's done more harm than good at this point, if we're being completely honest.
Well, and it's been obvious, and this is the case with literally every character except for Daenerys. I think that she is like the only, or Rhaenyra, like she's the only character that isn't only out for their own self-interest.
Yeah.
That's it. Everyone else is out for their own self-interest. And so he gives up Aegon to them to say, hey, take them wherever and have him beheaded, essentially. And his whole argument is like, they were going to kill you then and there, but I saved your life. No, you saved your, we all know that's...
All you did was prolong it. That's all
correct.
You did. Because if he gets to Rhaenyra, he's dead. That's the whole thing.
If they did not get stopped by bandits and escape in that moment, what was their plan? Genuinely, what was the plan there?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm going to say this again, and I know there's a chance I could get flack for this. The Greens are obviously represented as the bad guys in this story. I still think that Aegon is a very just... he's done some wrong things, but when you really look at... The only wrong thing that Aegon did that was, major was the fact that he just went along with the fact that he's now king. He didn't want to...
Some other things.
He didn't want to... Okay, well...
Hanging the rat catchers is definitely one of them, but
he did that out of vengeance for his son, who was wrongfully murdered. Again, I'm not saying it's justified completely.
It's more of a sign of his idiocy, I think, in that scene, and his lack of knowledge to learn, or lack of knowledge to run a kingdom, I guess, in that moment is not...
Yeah.
He was so blinded by vengeance, he didn't realize the optics of hanging a bunch of people in the streets.
Well, but that's also why whenever he does get free and he's going to Cole, as much as I don't want him to go to Cole because I hate Cole, I'm kind of happy to see Aegon get away a little bit, because at the end of the day, honestly, if there was any of the children survive, I would kind of be okay with him surviving. Well, because purely again, just based on how he didn't want any of this. He didn't want any of this.
I genuinely think, even with where his character has gone and the clear corruption that the power has had on him, you can see the power has corrupted him a little bit. I still think, especially after his injuries, where he stands now, he'd be fine giving it up. I genuinely think he'd be fine. If he was allowed to live and just live the rest of his life, I think the only argument against that would be vengeance. But here's the thing. I think he knows that it was his brother. He says when Aemon comes to him in bed, I don't remember what happened. I genuinely think that he said that because he was fearful that his brother would finish the job, and that's why he looks at the dagger in that moment. I think with Aegon, he was so fearful in that moment of his brother killing him that he lied. So I think that there, you could say he wants vengeance. If he wants vengeance, it's against his own brother. And even then, I think he knows that in his current state, he could never get that vengeance anyway. Even if he was king, he's never going to be able to or be allowed to rule as a normal king ever again. So his two best options are death or run away and hide. Yeah. And I think he's kind of realized that.
Yeah. again, Aegon is the one character on the at least the green side that, again, I'm not saying he's redeemable, but he is the most tragic of the group because, again, he didn't want any of this. It just happened upon him.
Yeah.
And he fell into the corruption of the power and people giving him attention for once in his life. It's satisfying to see him get away, although at the same time it's like, okay, let's secure Rhaenyra's spot on that throne and let's get rid of all of the Greens. Kill all of them.
Well, and it's kind of the unfortunate, again, I know where this story ends, because it's the only way this story unfortunately can end. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's no happy endings, unfortunately. And I think that's kind of obvious.
Off camera, we'll talk on this, so we're not saying it here.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with his character, because I don't know where his character goes. I can assume it based on knowing the general ending of the story, but I think the kind of the details of that I don't know, so that'll be interesting to see.
Sure.
Overall, though, unless there's anything else specific with this episode, I was just the acting was incredible, the sound, the score was incredible. I genuinely, I was blown away.
The only thing I will say, and I will say this going into it, is this is exactly what happened with season 2, where they started off with a very high, and then didn't get bad, but just slowly started getting to decent to okay. I don't want to see that happen with this season. I don't think they're going to go that route, because we're at this point, it's now just full steams ahead, go. There's going to be some big heavy things happening between now and the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, not knowing the end, the only thing that makes me fearful is the fact that we still have over a season and a half left. That does make me fearful. But at the same time, I think the reason I'm not fearful is because we've already surpassed any highs of even season 2, which is the better season of 1 and 2. And we've already far surpassed that with these first 2 episodes. And so even if we take a little bit of a dip, because I genuinely don't think that there's any way they could top these 2 episodes. If they could, I'd be baffled. But
one of the showrunners said that episodes 3 and 4 are going to be the best of this season, though.
Which is
that could be true.
That's genuinely insane, because these 2 episodes were bangers.
But it's Game of Thrones. And again, when you look at season 4 of Game of Thrones, that was a all-timer season. There was not really a bad episode in that season, and they just all kept getting better. So there's a chance it could happen here as well.
I think the other reason why I'm not fearful is because with Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne and Alicent walking up, you already know at least that first part of that next episode is going to be a banger.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one other thing that happened. It's very small. The last thing we touch on. I forget the sister's name, but the one who rode Sheep Stealer going to the mist for Sanctuary.
Yeah.
I expected that. I'm curious to see if that's the last time we ever see her, or if that is the last time we see her this season. Because even with that being Daemon's daughter, I'd be curious to see how Rhaenyra would react if she ever found out the truth.
So what's Daemon's reaction going to be once he finds out the truth?
Well, here's the interesting thing about that, though. She's Daemon's daughter. Jace was not Daemon's son, though, but it is Rhaenyra's. That's where it gets kind of complicated, because, Daemon cared. I don't know really if Daemon cared about Jace all that much. I mean, he was barely around, at least on screen. He grew up mostly without Daemon. I don't know how much they really interacted, to be honest. So how it's I guess the dichotomy of how much he cares about his own kin versus how much he cares about Rhaenyra's care for her kin, I guess, is kind of where that, if that ever comes up, which I'd be surprised if it didn't, honestly, how that kind of balances. I think that would be the interesting conflict. But who knows? That was just the other one interesting thing, because I wasn't sure where they were or if they were going anywhere with that, but since they introduced that she went, we're clearly doing something there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. House of the Dragon, season 3, episode 2. Good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Um,
Carson, now it's time to talk about da-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, I know. I'm sorry.
I am gonna for my personal review, I'm gonna be putting my helmet on.
Well, Carson, it is your personal review time. Go ahead and kick us off with your review of the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97.
Yeah, so obviously, you can just take a look at me and know how I felt about the original X-Men series and X-Men 97. I didn't watch the entire original series of X-Men. I watched it in bits and pieces as a kid growing up, rewatched like the last few episodes prior to 97 coming out, and then I watched 97. And I was blown away by X-Men 97. Truthfully, it genuinely might be for oh god, it's I never want to say this because I don't want to get flack. It might be my favorite thing that Marvel, at least animation wise, has done. Period. In a very, very long time. It's genius. It brings a nice return to form with X-Men. X-Men means a lot to me as a person. I grew up with the X-Men. I love those characters. And so getting to step back into this world, but also still having that classic X-Men, 90s feel to it was just a huge blessing, and creating what is a really, really good storyline in the process to follow along. The first 3 episodes of season 2 have so far been spectacular. I love the approach that they're taking, which is that they're bouncing between the timelines that they're all kind of stranded in at the moment to tell the cohesive like apocalypse story. So one is in the future with Apocalypse, one is Cable's X-Force team, trying to take down Apocalypse, and then the third episode is literally about being in the past for the origin of Apocalypse, and we're literally seeing the episode literally being called The Rise of Apocalypse. Part 1, so it's a part 1 of part 2. I'm excited to see where these characters will go following these episodes, because I want to know how they're all going to end up back together. Because I can't really see a world where they're going to spend the entire season separated, but I could see a good, few more episodes of them being separated, trying to figure out what's going on, play more in this world, and then inevitably, either ending good or bad, teaming up once again as the X-Men. Again, just with where season 1 left off, I thought that this was a very logical and just fun continuation of the show. The voice acting here is incredible. The character moments are fun. Again, I said this to a bunch of friends when I watched season 1. I love what they're doing with Beast in this show. He feels so much like Beast. He's got the quippy one-liners. He's the nerd. Like, they've never done Beast more right than in this show, and I love it. Cyclops is great here. I love what they give Jean Grey as they're dealing with a young Nathan and building the relationship that they were never able to build. Charles and Eric's relationship in this is really good. Again, everybody gets a moment to shine here. I think it's a great continuation of the show. Writing is really strong. It feels like that classic show. I am so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, fair enough. X-Men 97 Season 2 is off to a fantastic start. One of my biggest fears going into this season was I think that the X-Men shine the best when they are getting into the social commentary aspects of things, because that is really what make the X-Men not just like a generic superhero team with powers. It's what they represent. It's the struggles that they go through. It is just everything that goes into the intricacies of Charles versus Magneto and the two different, arguably very justifiable views on their situation, with Magneto coming from the Holocaust and Charles coming from a more idealist perspective. I loved that in season 1. I thought it was an amazing dichotomy and it was an amazing battle. Jumping into this season, I think it's very interesting because you don't have as much of that social commentary, at least in these first 3 episodes, because you're focused on Apocalypse. And when I knew that we were focused on Apocalypse, admittedly, I was a little, I don't want to say afraid, but I was like, are we going to be able to hit some of those same highs They absolutely have. Now, I don't think any of these episodes are better than the first 3 episodes of the first season. I think season 2 of the first season is like a perfect episode of television. It's like actually incredible. None of these hit those same highs, but none of them are like low whatsoever. The animation is incredible, the action is incredible, and they do start to get into different commentaries. I think the stuff they're doing with Scott and Jean and Cable, I think all of that is very interesting. It's about the morality of time travel and their son. I think all of that is really good. And then you cut to the stuff with Magneto and Apocalypse in the past and making him feel special, lying to him, but trying to get him to change, realizing what their mission there is. I think all of that stuff is very, very interesting. But then you also have the third perspective, which is the present, where you have current Cable in Jubilee and Sunspot, and the government rounding up mutants and Jubilee trying to fight against that. Cable's only goal being Apocalypse. Like, all of these storylines kind of being separated, but all kind of together at the same time, I think it's just so well done to where you never feel like, oh, why are we cutting to this? Why are we cutting to this? Because admittedly, one of my biggest problems, and it is still a fear of mine with the first season of X-Men 97, is I do think that the pacing is kind of bad. I think that mainly you'll have like fantastic episode, cut away to a different storyline, then cut back to the storyline. I really hope they don't replicate that with this season. I think they could. I just hope they don't, because that's like the only knock against season 1. But at least from these 3 episodes with the amazing action, I think the animation looks better than season 1. Maybe that's just me, but like the animation is like absolutely spectacular. So this has given me a lot of faith going into season 2 that maybe it won't reach the same highs as season 1, but it's definitely not going to be like a bad season of television.
Yeah. Let's start with the pacing. I know that's a season 1 thing, but like we haven't ever had a chance to talk about X-Men 97.
We've actually never even off camera talked about X-Men 97.
This is the first time I'm ever even talking anything about it with you, because I've tried not to say anything or spoil anything. I've just told you how much I love it. I've never had a problem with the pacing, but I also feel like that's because it is more, especially in season 1, an episodic adventure. And I guess you could say season 2 kind of is to a certain degree because it's in different timelines. But I feel like season 2 is more together because it's all focusing on the same narrative. Season 1 was planting seeds towards like a big 4-episode arc at the very end. But like each episode, like the first 6 episodes of season 1 were more so episodic.
That's the problem, though. They're not. They're just presented that way to make you think that they are. And that's kind of my problem, because you have an incredible first episode with the death of Charles Xavier leading into the will reading. Then you have that second episode, which I genuinely think is like a perfect episode of television. That speech that Magneto gives in front of the U.S. government is like one of the best speeches like that is genuinely just an unbelievable speech. And then you cut from that into episode 3, which was a good episode. I think episode 4, it's either episode 3 or 4 is the Mojo episode. I'm trying to remember exactly which one. But all I remember is episode 5 being, we're in spoilers so it doesn't matter, being the death of Gambit, which unfortunately I did have spoiled for me, but still hit hard. Being the death of Gambit, you have the death of Gambit, and then you immediately cut to the Storm and Forge stuff, and then you have to wait that whole episode. It's not a bad episode, but it is definitely, I guess, weaker episodes, if you would call it that. Then cutting back to, like, that is kind of what I mean by pacing, is like, yes, it's presented episodic, but it didn't need to be episodic, and I think it being presented in an episodic way, you get the high of the end of episode 5, and then you go into the episode 6, and you go, okay, this is a little off, I feel a little weird about this. And then you go into episode 6, which picks back up, and then it's really episode 6 to episode 10, it kind of is nonstop from there. So I don't really have a problem with that second half, but it is kind of that first, like, leading into it that I'm like, this is a little high, Mojo episode, high. Like, yeah. That's kind of what I mean with the pacing. It's like the starting pacing is not great, but then once you get into it, you get into it.
I guess it's fair. I've just never had a problem with it when I was watching it. But I'm also again, I love you to death. The one thing you can't take away from me in this friendship is how much X-Men means more to me.
Oh
Even
yeah,
if I'm not
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
deep into like the comics, like I didn't really read much of the comics. I just watched this show and I watched the movies and I fell in love with this world more than a lot of what even the MCU ever really did. I love Endgame, but like if they ever had, which again, Avengers Doomsday is going to be that, like the X-Men Endgame or whatever, I would have been all over that. Unfortunately, the X-Men Endgame we got was called X-Men Dark Phoenix, and it wasn't very good. So very
Yeah.
excited for Doomsday because it really can't get much worse for an ending for the generation of the X-Men I grew up with. But again, it means so much to me. So I think I was able to overlook a lot more of the issues that you're saying, even though I can't acknowledge they were there. I just kind of like scrubbed them from my head because I
Well, and
really, you know.
admittedly, I do think that there is a chance that some of that maybe comes from having binged all of it in a day. But at the same time, I feel like I'd actually have a bigger problem with it if I watched it weekly, because then you'd go from like the high of remember it into the Stormforge stuff, which again, I want to reiterate, isn't bad. But it very much is
It's
a kind of like a
slower.
unnecessary whiplash, in my opinion. And I know sometimes
It's not
people are like,
whiplash.
"Oh, shows do that on purpose," and it's like, yeah, but I also don't like it when they do it. So
It's not whiplash, but it's actually a symptom of a it's not as prevalent, but it's the Walking Dead ABC D storyline telling, and I know I'll explain that because I don't know if you know what that means.
no, I
Um,
do, I do, and I think the biggest problem with that is like, yeah, I know that's what they're going for, but like, this is the way that I put it when I was talking with someone after I watched X-Men '97. Is I think the biggest thing that hurts X-Men '97 is trying to be the X-Men animated cartoon, but at the same time, I understand why they did that, because pacing
Yeah.
and storytelling in the '90s, very different than modern day, gonna sell very different to audiences, and is a general improvement, at least somewhat. Sometimes it's gotten worse, but at
Sure.
least I've watched, I think I said this at the start, but I didn't say this to start my review. I watched the first half of the X-Men animated series, and I do very much plan to finish it. It was literally just a timing thing.
Yeah.
But I watched the first half, and it has some high highs. It's got some incredible stuff in there, but it's also very, I wouldn't say episodic. It's very arc focused, where there is sometimes a through line, but it very much is 3 episodes, something happens. Then you'll have like a 1 episode, maybe a 2 episode break where there's like a one-off story where Mojo came or something else happens and we need to go solve this one thing. And then we cut back
Sure.
to a 3 episode arc, or like the Phoenix arc, which I think is like 5 episodes. That's like the longest single arc for the most part.
So here's what I'll say, and I'm going to ask you not to get mad at me when I say this, because I'm not meaning this in a discredit in any way, or how does that differ a lot from, mind you, what I've watched, early episodes of One Piece? Because One Piece also feels very similar in a lot of ways, where you, like, the first long arc you had in One Piece was, from what I remember, was Usopp's introduction, and that whole arc on the island, where you get to understand Usopp's character. That was the first long arc. Before that, it was just episodic adventures with these characters. You had like a 2 episode, 3 episode stint with Zoro, introducing that character, but then you had 7 episodes with Usopp. Then you had like 2 episodes break. Then you had like 5 episodes with Sanji. And Nami's introduced along the way, so you understand that character a little bit. And then you get like,
So
how is it differing from that?
that's because it's very different in the, so it's two different things. One, it's very different in the anime versus the manga, because some of that stuff is filler material. And two, it is different because that's only an early One Piece thing, which, mind you, came out in the '90s.
Which is
early,
why it feels like
correct.
that. Yes,
Early One Piece.
That's what I'm getting at.
But what I'm trying to say is it gets different later on, where yes, it is still very much arc based. You'll go to an island called Whole Cake Island and you'll spend like 80 episodes or like 100 chapters on this, and then you'll end that and you'll go to the next island and you'll spend 100 episodes there and you'll go to the next island. It very much is like that, but you get to spend a lot more time there. Like, my biggest thing is like, you have like 2 to 3 episodes on one storyline. Like, the biggest storyline, and this is, mind you, season 3 is Dark Phoenix, and that's 5 episodes. Every other storyline up until that point is at maximum 3 episodes. And so you don't really get that much time with anything, and it's not it's again, I understand like your thoughts on early One Piece because yeah, it kind of is like that, but it also came out in the 90s. It came out at the same time
during
as
the
this
same
show.
time.
It improved
The show
over
actually might have come out a little earlier.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious to see how this season handles that. Not that obviously X-Men 97 came out like 2 years ago, so it's not like this was following the 90s, but like I'm hoping that this doesn't follow that same style because these first 3 episodes weren't that. It was kind of, if you think about, like, they have kind of cutting between all the arcs, but there's a lot more of a through line to those arcs. It doesn't feel like
that's what I was,
episodic.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It is technically, when you look at it at its base, an episodic thing because it's different storylines, but it's all towards the same objective.
Yeah.
So it's hard to call it episodic, but it actually is. And that's what I think about season 1 is so good, is I don't ever feel like it is episodic. It does have, like, the first 6 episodes are, but each of those episodes have a piece that play into at least the last 4 episodes of the show that are all the same arc and same objective.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're doing that they do it on purpose because they're planting seeds in those early episodes to gear you towards, you know, the big culmination for final episodes of the season 1. Season 2 starting off in the again, you have to call it episodic, but what seems like a complete straight narrative through line that's going to keep going till the very end. Because this is like, Apocalypse is too big of a villain, especially with the storyline they're trying to tell right now with him, to just like let it be done in 5 episodes and move on to another.
I'd be shocked if we covered anything but Apocalypse. They've released the episode titles of this season for all, I believe it's 9 episodes. Maybe it's 10. I think it's 9.
I think it's 10.
10.
I think it should be 10.
They released all the episode titles, and it tells you literally nothing. Like, I have no idea. The only one that did give something away is that I think Logan's going to get his adamantium back because one of them is literally titled Project X. So.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's just going to be him getting his adamantium back. But that's also only part of that episode. Like, it literally has, like, 3 episode titles in the title, which is weird, but, other than that, like, it's
shot of season 1, by the way.
What?
I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. That has to be my favorite shot of season 1.
What is him getting the adamantium ripped out of him?
Getting the just ripped out of him by Magneto. That was sick.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. That has to be my favorite shot of the whole thing. It has to be.
It was brutal. Well, and then going to this season where you see him using the bone claws and feeling a lot more, I don't want to say pain, but like I'm pretty sure his bone claws broke off at one point. They'll regenerate back, but like he stabs one of the robots and then he like it looked like it ripped out the claws.
It's funny because when he's got the bone claws, he feels a lot more animalistic.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and his mane doesn't help either. He looks like a lion, honestly, like, or a Wolverine.
He looks more like the animal Wolverine that he should be because he's in an apocalyptic time, basically.
Correct. Okay, one thing I want to talk about, and this was not this was a thing semi at other points in the show, but it's obviously very present now, and I will admit, I think it's the only thing so far that I struggle to say I didn't like, but I will admit is hard, is X-Men 97 follows different rules than the MCU when it comes to time travel, and I wish it followed the same rules as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I understand why it doesn't, because they couldn't tell the same stories that they're telling if it did.
Correct.
But it does kind of make it a little harder to follow at times, because I genuinely think that Endgame has, and I guess for lack of a better, like Endgame has some of the best time travel in movies in general. Like, I think it's a really, really well done time travel. This is the side of time travel that I think is a lot more difficult, where what you do, like, actively change the past, present, and future, and it doesn't, like, split off or create it, like, it doesn't, like, it just changes things, and that does kind of make it hard to follow, especially when it relates to, like, just Cable's entire character.
Sure. Well, here's what I'll say, because I actually would blame Endgame for this. Endgame took a courageous step in introducing a way of time travel that is very different from we've really ever seen in media before. And in the moment, it works really well. But in hindsight, when you look back at all the comic book stories that you can tell, and more notably the ones that you've adapted, which time travel is more so, I would say, like an X-Men thing. I can't remember if there's any, like, time travel stories that involve, like, the Avengers. I'm sure there is, but, like, I can't think of any that are more notable. The X-Men's really, like, Days of Future Past is the more notable, like, time traveling X-Men stories. Cable being a time traveling character. At the time when Endgame came out, they hadn't even acquired the rights yet to the X-Men. So their prerogative wasn't, oh, we're going to focus on the timeline, being this way so that when we get these characters, we can focus on that. It was more on this is what we have. We're going to tell a story we want to tell based off what we think we can do. And so that's why in the moment it works now. Endgame's actually going to be a hindrance on the rest of, I think, what the MCU is going to give, because the timeline really should be the other way around, purely because you're going to miss out on a lot of stories, or you're going to have to just completely rewrite the entirety of how you do it. Because, first off, Deadpool's already in the MCU. They've already talked about Cable's Time Watch in Deadpool and Wolverine. They already talked about how he messed with and changed the timeline.
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing. You talk about Endgame being, like, setting up for failure, which I disagree with, but I just really enjoy Endgame. I get where you're coming from, but it's really, if you want to blame anything, it's Loki. Because Loki doubled down and fully explained what Endgame really kind of just glossed over, because that wasn't, like, the main point of it. Like, they kind of just was like, here's the concept, here's how it works, moving on. Loki, the whole point of both seasons of Loki is TVA, time travel, variants, all of these things coming together. And not only explaining, and this is where I think it really hurts the X-Men, and this is why again, it's not like a knock on it, but it is an interesting decision, is Loki made it clear that this is affecting everything. Loki is the multiverse. He is the life tree. Everything is him. We already know that X-Men 97 is in the MCU because the Watcher is in episode 5. So clearly this is a part of that multiverse. Well, if Loki is a part of the multiverse, why does time travel work different for the X-Men in this universe than it does for in Endgame and in Loki?
Again, I think you're grasping at the unfortunate thing, which is we can't really have an answer. We're not going to have an answer. And either way, once we get one, it's going to be messy because Marvel themselves kind of put them in the place that they're in by not only doing it in Endgame, but doubling down in Loki and then realizing, oh, we have all of these properties we've just acquired that have time travel, like Days of Future Past, like Deadpool, Wolverine, and like all the stories we want to eventually tell that have time travel set in a specific way. In either way, we're not going to get an answer that's going to satisfy everybody. It's already going to be sloppy. But again, that's also the danger you play around with when it comes to time travel. I mean, X-Men already had a history of very messy time travel. And very messy continuity error things that already were in it, prior to Endgame even happening.
Again, I'm not saying it's that big a deal. I think it is literally the only knock I have against the season so far. And it's barely even a knock. It's more of just a comment and observation. Moving on to the positive side of things, though, is it just me or does the animation just look better? Like, I don't know if it's just me, but
they may have gotten a little bit more money. Because season 1 did so well. Maybe I'm not saying Marvel didn't give them money to begin with. They clearly did. It's a Disney property. It's Marvel. But I'm sure they would have gotten a little bit more money. They also had more time to animate everything, too. Because remember, it's only 10 episodes. But, let's use Invincible, for example. Invincible only has basically roughly a year to animate everything that they're doing. X-Men 97 Season 2 had at least a year and a half, maybe even just a little bit more, to animate everything that they were planning to do. Because they're probably already animating Season 3 in this moment with a potential release date in a year and a half from now. They're taking more time in between their seasons to perfect it, to make sure it's as good as it possibly can be. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it looks better. I don't disagree with you. I think it does look a little better.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an observation of mine. The action in this episode, or these 3 episodes, I think the coolest thing that X-Men 97 has done is, and I don't even think, I'm not the biggest expert on X-Men comics. I don't know if they really do this all that much in the comics, though. I know they didn't do this in the movie, but Cyclops' movement using his optic blasts is such an insanely cool thing. And he has one moment in, I think it's episode 2, where they're, no, it must be episode 3. No, it's episode 1. I'm getting my episodes mixed up because I binged them all at once. But where he's in a battle, and then he pushes himself back to join back up with the X-Men with his optic blast and, like, slides backwards. And, like, I don't know why, but, like, stuff like that I just find, like, absolutely insanely cool.
So the movies didn't do that justice, because obviously the only movies that Cyclops were in were the early 2000s films, so they didn't really have him moving around a bunch. It was just him shooting things out of his eyes. And you had the X-Men Apocalypse, which also didn't really do him any favors either, because they kind of used him in the same way. In the comics, he moves around a lot more. In this show, obviously, he moves around a lot more. In Marvel Rivals, that's actually the whole point. First off, he's my favorite DPS of the whole game. He's great. But the whole point of his character is you have to stay mobile with him using his blast to blast yourself around, because you're easily able to be taken down, but your blasts are powerful. So you got to stay mobile in order to evade danger. That's literally the whole point of using that character in the game. So it's a lot more prevalent in the comics that he uses it. But obviously, again, early 2000s movies, harder to animate, so they just shot it out of his eye. That was it.
True.
And I don't know what they did with the latter half of Cyclops. So
yeah, no.
Okay, sure.
I just, that was just one moment in the episode that I was like, that's absolutely sick. But
yeah,
since we're on the topic of Cyclops, the whole, like, moral dilemma that him and Jean are in, like, it's so tough, because obviously,
it's
like,
hard.
He has a line in here talking about great lines, like with House of the Dragon. He had an absolutely banger line about why is the timeline more important than him and Jean having a relationship with their son. Like, that line, maybe it was it Jean that uttered that? Maybe, like, there was a line in there.
No, it had to have been Scott, because here's the thing, and this is the thing you also got to remember. It's technically not Jean's son. It's technically not her son, which,
gets very complicated.
I also that's if I had any complaint for the first season, that's something I wish they would have touched on more, was the fact that Scott didn't fully recognize that it wasn't Jean, and that he fully had another kid with technically another woman who is exactly Jean.
And we don't even know when they got swapped, and that's the thing that's kind of terrifying, is, like, we genuinely do not know when was she the, like, I think there was a line in season 1 where she literally goes, was I the Phoenix, or is that just a fleeting memory? And you go, oh, we're going all the way back. Like, we're going, like, Mr. Sinister's introduced in the first season of the original animated series. Like,
and you know what? This is a special note for Marvel. Don't tell us these things. If Secret Invasion, your failed TV show, is any indication about telling us things, don't tell us. You ruined Rhodey's entire character because you said that you took him after Civil War, which means he wasn't even there for Endgame. He doesn't even know Tony's dead. So Marvel, take this as a kind opportunity to not tell us when you swapped Jean.
Well, and I think it makes it so much more interesting for us to not know, and for her to not know. Because ultimately, let's be honest, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
At all.
No, it really doesn't.
It makes it so much more compelling if she never knows when she got swapped.
Could have been after season 5, in between season 5 and season 1 of 97, like that brief window of time. It could have been in after season 1 of the original series. You don't know, and it doesn't matter. But it does create some really interesting drama that feeds into now, because Jean is loving on Nathan like a son, even though it's technically not her son. Um, but I think that, yeah, I think that's actually, of all the storylines, that was the one I had the most interest in at the moment, was because it had the most weight to it. Scott and Jean are both trying to, because Nathan doesn't know yet that he's the parents, that he's his parents, whatever.
Well, he does know now. He does know
he knows
now, but
in the moment he didn't, and so for the months that they were trapped there, oh, we know, we're beings of power, and we can do this and we can do that, but the crushing soul, like, of Scott in that, like, those first, like, few moments of just, like, I can't tell you that you're my son, but, like, you're my son, and, like, I'm loving this time that we're spending together at all. And then the weight of, we have to leave. And the fact that's one of my favorite moments, especially in episode 2, is because, again, it's a big Cable episode, and you're catching up with Cable in the future with X-Force. And the last scene of that episode is you see all the X-Men going back to their main timeline because Nathan chooses to send everybody back. It's so good. And it's so clever writing, and it's what is really weaving these stories together so perfectly.
Well, I think it's so difficult to pick a favorite storyline because I think all three storylines going on are so interesting. Because yeah, the whole moral dilemma with their kid not being able to tell him and then telling him but not being able to do anything and having to accept that he has a destiny beyond them, and again the whole underlying story of this is not this Jean's kid. And technically Cable's mom, his real mom, is dead, and he doesn't even know it, and Scott has not even, like, really fully processed or grieved that at all, is really good. But you also have, God, Magneto is just such a well-written character. He's my favorite character in X-Men 97, at least. He is incredible. Not even a competition, especially just in episode 3 with him literally calling Charles out on not being willing to work out his own dream. Like, Magneto is now more a champion of Charles Xavier's dream than Charles Xavier is in that moment. And not only is that, like, a fact, it's something that Magneto calls Charles out on to his face, and saying, you are not willing to actually do what you say you want to do. And that is just, like, such a, I don't want to say 180 because that was a big thing in season 1, but going back to what I've seen of the X-Men original animated series and him being, I don't want to say stereotypical villain, he has depth to him, but more of a stereotypical viewed as terrorist villain, and seeing that character arc kind of come full circle, and literally going from, like, Charles debating him in the jungle when they get captured by Sinister in, I think it's season 2, all the way to now, where Magneto is saying to Charles' face, you do not believe your own dream enough. God, it's just so good.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the last character I kind of want to touch on is Apocalypse, because obviously this is the character that the season's going to revolve around. I don't feel his entire threatening presence yet, but I think that's also because we haven't seen enough from him. We've seen, like, I would say the infant, pre-Apocalypse version of him as the big warrior who will eventually become Apocalypse. The Anakin Skywalker to the Darth Vader, I guess you could say. I don't really see him much as a threatening force yet, but I feel like we're gearing up for a moment within these next 3 episodes that's going to turn that into, this is why Apocalypse is the most dangerous. I know we've seen him in other, things in other times, but, like, I just haven't, like, felt it yet this season that he is the most threatening presence.
Well, in seasons 2.5 that I've seen of the original X-Men series, I'm gonna be honest, he's not that interesting when he pops up. He kind of feels like a generic villain. And Apocalypse is supposed to be one of the biggest, most intimidating, most important X-Men villains that they have. It's literally like Magneto and Apocalypse are, like, the 2 villains. And Magneto is not really a villain right now, so...
Yeah, if there's like four main villains of the X-Men universe, it's Sebastian Shaw,
Yeah.
it's Magneto, Apocalypse, and then it is probably Sinister.
Yeah, I would say that, and in Sinister is a better villain from what he gets in those first 2.5 seasons than Apocalypse is. So I'm curious to see, like, maybe he gets better. I'm gonna finish by the time we finish the show of this second season, I will have finished the X-Men animated series.
Yeah.
Because after my family leaves, I'm just gonna binge the whole rest.
Go for it. Go for it,
But
man.
I'm curious to see what they do with his character going forward, because this is obviously, again,
Yeah.
our assumption is that he will be all 10 episodes of this. But I agree with you. I mean, the main reason we haven't felt his presence is because his only real screen time has been like a week in a test tube, essentially, or in a coffin, or in the past where he's kind of challenged with that moral dilemma that literally Magneto, mind you, is coming in and telling him, don't be the bad guy here, only for unfortunately forces to be working against them and making him the bad guy.
Yeah, which that was you knew it was coming, but
Yeah.
that was the big final twist of that third episode is he thinks that they're, going against him. And granted, any little thing would have set him off. But, Magneto didn't get a chance to explain and whatever. And so, it just turns on them entirely. Look, just a great start to season 2. Really, I have no complaints at all. I think that what they're setting up is really good.
Well, and
just give me more of Apocalypse is what I would say.
Well, and I know we're wrapping up a little bit, but I just want to cover a little bit since it's the only storyline we haven't gotten all that much into. Like, I love what they're doing with Jubilee and Cable in the present time.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's talk about that quickly.
Yeah,
I
like
completely forgot about
that stuff is
That's
just like, it's
awesome.
so good because, like, obviously Jubilee is just like, I don't want to say generic good, but she is good. She is one of the good guys, like, through and through. Sunspot sits more in that, at least in this series, more in that, like, he wants to be good, but he's also kind of mainly out for his own self-interests in season 1. He doesn't even want to admit, and now we're starting to see him step a little bit more into, now that he's been revealed to his parents in the world, he's using his powers more, which are sick, by the way. He is the second best firebender in this show behind, we didn't even talk about this, Storm bending the sun was insane. Absolutely wild.
I like a lot of what the cameos were with that storyline. I liked seeing Emma Frost again because we hadn't seen her yet. I liked seeing Polaris again. And then I can't remember if he makes a cameo in the original show, but the fact that Multiple Man was here, I got to chuckle out of that because I like. I like Multiple Man's character. I think he's very fun. So I'm glad that that he's in this. I couldn't remember if he was a part of the original series or not. So
yeah, but it's the whole, again, where X-Men shines. It's the moral quandaries, and Jubilee is facing a big one right now where she knows she needs to work with Cable to save the X-Men, but she doesn't agree with Cable's methods, even if arguably they kind of are justified. Like, what are they gonna do with war? Oh, turn them into the authorities, the same authorities that you're also at the same time fighting against because they're rounding up the X-Men. Like, what's your plan there? There's kind of
the moral dilemma within Cable too. That Jubilee's fighting against him. It's really well done. You turn him into the authorities? No, we got to kill him because there's not really going to be much justice with it. It's very Injustice DC style of character, and I really like that because I just think it works really well here.
Because you have Jubilee, the most good of good, kind of naive good at times, coming in here against Cable, who is a good guy, but kind of just does. I would put him on lines with like Punisher in the sense of like Punisher does. Yeah. His end goal is to do good. What he does to do that good, arguably to most, is not good.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, where Jubilee kind of has to make that contrast. But the other side of things, if she wants to join, is it X-Force is the one that works for the government? If she,
No, it's oh God, what is it? I watched these today, so I'm not even like
I know it's
remember
it's
what
it's
they're called.
also 10:30, so
So that will play a factor.
yeah.
Um,
Um, but anyways, the one that works for the government, they're rounding up X-Men or mutants and humans under the guise of doing good, but in reality, we know it's not actually doing good. Like, this is not a good thing. And Jubilee is having to be like, well, I literally, my three options is do nothing, which was never an option for Jubilee, join
right.
Cable, and have the moral quandaries there of Cable is willing to kill people and do some very questionable things, or join the federal government, who are literally rounding up her kind for no discernible reason.
Right.
She picks the lesser of three evils, or lesser of two evils, but just because she chose that doesn't mean she has to be happy with it. And that's something that I think they're doing very well with her character.
Well, honestly, the dilemma that we're gonna have once the X-Men are all back in this universe and finding out that the government made their own X-Men like team that they're probably gonna have to go up against, because now the government's like, oh well, the X-Men are gone. Now's our chance to create a team that we can control, so we can control mutant kind. I think that's gonna be a really big contention point, but also I think that's a good way to kind of put Magneto back into the villain role, because you can't have him be on the X-Men team for forever. As much as I want him to, because I like him interacting with the team in the way that he is, you can't have him be a good guy for forever. You gotta eventually put him back on the path of the villain.
Well, and I think it's going to be
planning to end the story pretty soon here, I guess you could, but I don't think you're going to do that anytime soon.
Correct. And I think the with where they've taken his character to the level of, I'd argue, redemption that he's had over these two seasons, if Genosha did not turn, well, it did turn Magneto. It did. But like, if Genosha wasn't enough to like make Magneto just like exterminate everyone, which kind of did, then like, how are we going to reflip him, I guess? Because like, obviously with what happens with Genosha, we then get him in the space station and turning off all the power and that whole like everything like that, where Magneto finally snaps. But then it's really funny, but I think makes sense, because then you flip to him in the future, or in the past, with Apocalypse, where he's now reselling, like he's still trying to be the good guy and live up to Charles's expectations, even though right before that he was about to destroy the world.
Yeah. I don't know. I think again they've planted the seeds for a really good season. We'll see how it continues to grow. But I'm excited for what this season brings.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. As much as I love to continue talking about this, it is 10:30. My family got back like an hour ago. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, I did not, but obviously we have a few more weeks coming up where we can actually talk about X-Men and whatnot, and House of the Dragon, and unfortunately not Minions. I never thought I'd say this. Why did I like Minions? Why did I even tolerate Minions? I don't get it.
Yeah. I want to say one thing before we kick into the what's next in the outro. USA beat Bosnia in the World Cup. They're moving on. Absolute
go.
cinema. We are on. I don't want to say we're gonna win the World Cup, but we're doing really well. We're doing really well.
I was about to say, in typical USA fashion, we're going to very much fumble this and not get anywhere close anymore. This is the furthest we're going to get. So
I think we can make one more. I think it's, again, I've talked about this with friends. Once we face up against, like, Argentina, we're screwed. We're screwed.
You want to make a bet right now? If they make it, and you're right, I will sit on this podcast butt naked.
I will not make that bet. I will not make that bet. Because I do not want to witness that.
Yeah.
I do need to come up with my bet for, what was it, Werwulf. I need to come up with that bet, but that's for, I'll try to come up with it by next week so I can state it, but.
Hey, Brandon, you're putting off what we need to talk about next week. What are we talking about next week, bud?
Next week, we have House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 3. Very excited for that.
Episode 3.
We have X-Men 97 Season 2, Episode 4. And I think that's it. I think it's the only two things we're talking about.
No. There's another property. You're missing something.
Carson doesn't realize how much he owes me at this point for both House of the Dragon and what we're about to talk about next week, which is a movie that this is probably genuinely the least I've ever wanted to watch something on the podcast. We'll be talking about Evil Dead Burn.
I'm so excited.
I'm not.
I'm gonna try to stream Evil Dead Rise with you so I can watch it with you.
I don't want to watch any of those movies beforehand, let alone this one. But yeah, that's next week. Evil Dead Burn, House of the Dragon, and X-Men 97. Carson, anything you want to leave us off with?
Yeah, Magneto.
It's actually not the worst impression I've ever heard.
I know, it's not bad. It's actually okay.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But this has been this week, that has been that week, and this has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms at Nerdy Nimrods. Drop a like, drop a follow. Let us know your thoughts on these properties. I love to hear what you guys think about them. I do actually read and respond to any comments that we get, so leave them if you want. You can find us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods, clips on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I post all the main highlights from this channel. I try to do at least the reviews and some of the other fun clips on this. You'll see Carson in his Magneto mask, plenty. You can also find us at Nerdy Nimrods on all social media platforms where we don't post all that much right now. I keep saying I'll get back to it. I've stopped making promises I won't keep, but I will get back to it one day. Carson, once we're back in person, has already agreed to get back to it as well. We also have a bunch of other things that I won't spoil that are in the works for when I get back in person that we're currently cooking up in the background, so keep an eye out for those announcements that will come in future months. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay nerdy.